Right, Year 7, we're about to move on to areas of composite shapes. Now, composite, the word composite just means something made up of several parts. It's made up of many components. So, what we have here, and we're just going to do questions 4 and 5. What we have here are shapes that are made up of several bits. So, for example, if I look here at the very first one in question 4, we have a rectangle and we have a triangle. So the area would be finding the area of those two shapes and adding them together. If I look down here, I've got a square and a rectangle. So find the area of the square, find the area of the rectangle, add them together. In some of the other ones, it's not as explicit. You're going to have to work out what one's there. So in this one here, which we'll do, if I draw a line down there, I get a rectangle here and a triangle here. So I find the areas of both those and add them together. The other way of doing them though, and this is with composite shapes, is rather than say, for example, this one in 5, finding the area of that triangle and then the area of that rectangle and that rectangle, an easier way sometimes can be to go, I'll find the area of the big figure and subtract the area of the triangle. So you can add or subtract, and it's up to you what you do and when you do it. But usually, if you've got a whole shape with a hole in it, it's easier to subtract. Or if you've got a shape that's broken up easily into parts, you add. So for these ones, they were just adding in question 4 and subtracting in question 5. So I'm not going to do all of them, but we'll start with them. So, and this is fine for you to set it up like this. So 4A, the area. Well, what have I got? I've got a rectangle plus I've got a triangle. And I'm going to add those areas together. And the rectangle is base times height. And the triangle is a half. Base times height. Well, the base of the rectangle is 6. The height of the rectangle is 4. The base of the triangle is also 6. And the height of the triangle is 3. So the height of the triangle is here and the base is here, and it's the same. And then I just put it into my calculator. Now, some of you will be wanting to find out those two separately and adding them together. So much easier just to type it into your calculator as it stands and do it all in one go. You don't want to do more than you have to. And the answer is 33. Now, what units we're in? Metres. And remember, we're finding area, so it's 33 metre squares. I'm not going to do B. You can have a go at that. I'm going to do C. You have a go at it before me. Well, what two shapes have I got here? Well, I've got a square there and a rectangle there. So let's do those two separately. So the area of the square, well, that's just a rectangle, so it's just BH. And the area of the other rectangle is BH. Now remember, they're different B's and different H's. So the square is just going to be 3 times 3 because the base and the height of the square are the same. And the base of the rectangle is 2, even though it's right up the top, it equals the one down the bottom. And the height is 8. And I drew it then, 8. And again, the temptation is to go and do them separately. I prefer to do them all in one go. 3 times 3 plus 2 times 8. And that's 25. And again, we're in metres squared. Now, here's something you need to realise. When maths teachers mark your work, that is the most important step. That is what gets you all the marks. It's not the answer. The answer is important, but it's showing you're working. So if you're doing these without showing that second line, you're really not doing it to the level of uh, diligence or the level that we want you to. Show your substitutions. Okay, so now I'm going to have a go at D, because D, they don't tell you what to do. But if I zero in on D, I know, and we already discussed it, that if I can drop that line down there, that'll make me a rectangle, which is 3 times 5. And I've got a triangle, but I've got to work out this base. Well, this base, well, all of this is 9, and this part, just from here to here, is 5. So this part that's left over will be 9 minus 5, and that will be 4. Watch me do that again. So we drop a straight line down here. We know that this distance is 5. How do we work out this distance? Well, we know the whole distance is 9, and 9 minus 5 is 4. Now we know that, we just do our normal area. What have we got? We've got a rectangle and we've got a triangle. What's the area of the rectangle? Base height. What's the area of the triangle? A half base height. Remember, they're different bases, different heights. What's the base of the rectangle? 5. What's the height of the rectangle? 3. What's the base of the triangle? That's the one we had to work out, 4. And what's the height of the triangle? Well, it's the same, 3. And again, bang, straight into your calculator. So 5 times 3 plus, for the triangle, half of 4 times 3. You get 21. What units is it in? Meters. So 21 meter squares. Right. I'm going to do, I'm going to do D, but I'm going to show you how to do, I'm going to do E, but I'm going to show you how to do F as well. So E, well, E's the same as D. So I'll show you how to do E, but I'll do F. So you draw a line up there. Again, you have to work this, and to work that out, that's going to be 21 minus 17, so that will be 4, and your height will be 9, and you just do exactly the same thing. You'll go 17 times 9 for the rectangle, and a half of 4 times 9 for the triangle. Let's have a look at the last one here. Now, if I break this up into a triangle and a rectangle, well, I've got the dimensions for the rectangle, no worries. I've got the base of the triangle, all right? The base of the triangle is this bit. Now, what about the height? Well, the height is this distance here. Well, I know all the distance is 6, so this distance is going to be 6 minus this 3, which gives me 3. So the height of that triangle is 3. So let's put it all together now. What have I got? F, the area equals that rectangle plus the triangle. Well, the rectangle's easy. It's 3 times 10. Oh, sorry, let's write the formulas in. So BH plus a half BH, and the base of the triangle is 10. The height of, rectangle is 10, and the height of the rectangle is 3. Again, the base of the triangle is 10, and the height is 3. And again, bang, straight onto your calculator. 10 times 3 plus, because we're adding, half times 10 times 3. And I get 45. This time, we're in kilometres. That is one big rectangle and triangle. 45 kilometre squares. Righto. Let's now have a go at some of the ones from 5. So I'll do the first one, 5A. If you think you can do it, pause the video, do it, and then come back. Well, the area of 5A, and here they tell us to use subtraction. You don't have to, but it's going to be the easiest way. I'm going to have the area of the big square minus that tiny little triangle up the top. Well, the area of the big square, well, sorry, it's not a square, it's a rectangle, so it's base height. And I have to take away the triangle, a half base height. Well, the rectangle is 6 times 7. That's easy. This time we're subtracting. It's a half. The base of the triangle, doesn't matter which one you use, the 2 or the 3, half of 2 times 3. Again, this is the most important line. Then we'll go to our calculator. 6 times 7 minus a half times 2 times 3. Oops. 39. What unit? Let's get this right. What units are we in? Meters. 39 meter squares. Now, I'm not going to do B. It's exactly the same, except this time you have a big square. And it's going to be 10 times 10 minus a half of 3 times 3. Let's jump into C. So C, again, I've got a rectangle, and they don't show me, but it's pretty obvious. I've got a little square here that I've got to take away. So my area is the big rectangle minus that little square. Well, the rectangle's easy. It's BH. And this, BH. And the square is also BH, even though we know it's the same thing squared. So I get 5 times 6 minus 2 times 2. Bang, out comes my calculator. And remember to minus this times, you get 26. And we're in meters. Righto. They look really complicated, but they're not. All right? So here we go. Here's another one. This one, it's going to be a really tiny slither of a triangle there. But it's going to be hard to work out what the distances are. Well, not really. Let's really tidy this up a bit. Well, that distance and that distance. Well, all the way across is 9. I've gone 8, so that has to be 1 or 9 minus 8. And all the way up is 9. I've only gone over 4, so that's going to be 5. Because 9 minus 4 equals 5. So now, if I were to do D, I may as well do it. You see if you can do it before me now. You've seen the hints I've given you. And I'm going to create a little space for myself here. And I'll get rid of that and that. So here's D. The area equals the big square minus that tiny slither of a triangle. Well, square's BH, the triangle's a half BH. Well, the square is 9 times 9 and a half, and we worked out the sides. The base is 1 and the height is 5. So into my calculator, 9, oops, not 99, 9 times 9 minus a half times 1 times 5. And remember, if you get an improper fraction like that, you just press your SD button, 78.5, and we're in meters squared. Okay, the last two. I'm only going to do one of them. I'm going to do the very last one, but you can have a go at this one. Just find the area of the square and minus the area of the triangle. Now, the square's sides are 20 and 20, so that's easy. And this side down here, well, that's the side of the square that's missing, so it's 20, and the height is 14. So that's pretty easy. I'm going to do E. And what have I got? Well, the area, well, I'm pretty sure there's a big triangle. I'm going to take away a little square. So I've got a big triangle and I'm going to minus that little square. Well, the big triangle, what's its base? Well, that's 4. So it's a half base times height, and the square is BH. And the base of the square is, the triangle is 4. What's the height of the triangle? 2.5. And the square, it's 1 times 1. And again, straight to your calculator. And this time I've got a fraction first, so a half of 4 times 2.5 minus this time 1 times 1. Oops, I've got an error there. Let's go back. What did I type in? Did I type something? I've got half of 4. I didn't put the times in. There we go. So my answer is 4. And what units are we in? Meters. And that's it. So remember, for the area of composite shapes, look at the shape, decide whether you're going to add or whether you're going to subtract. It's easier or harder according to which way you go. Before we go, we'll just have a look at these ones. Now, they don't tell you which way to do them. So here in 6A, well, it's going to be easier to find the whole shape and minus this little square. But you're going to have to somehow get that triangle as well. So that's really complicated. You're going to have, and you've got missing measurements all over the place. With this one, I don't know, would it be easier to find the two squares and then that big triangle and add them together? Probably. And the same with this one. What would you do? Well, I think I'd do a rectangle and a square, that little rectangle and square, and get the big one and subtract them. For 7, well, what do you got here? You got a big rectangle, 2 squares and a rectangle. Can you see it? Here's your squares, one there and one there. And then you've got this big rectangle. Number 7B, it looks really difficult, but it's not. You just got a triangle there and a triangle there. It's really easy. And you add them together. So you can see how you would go doing those ones if you want to have a challenge. Good luck.